Vatala. Yeah. How? You'll taste them and you'll see. Peanuts and sugar, that's it. That's the entire recipe. 2 ingredient cookies. They didn't come out so good. I didn't add enough sugar, I think. But yeah. It's not from too much sugar. Sorry? I did. No? Overdosing on sugar. That's what he thought, but that's okay. So, anyways, the bracha is shahakol. If there's no flour, it doesn't come from there's no grain product from the 5 grains. And so the bracha is shahakol. There are some chocolate chips in there. Chocolate chips, we said some people say that they are eight. Chocolate from the beans that grow on the trees, but most people say shahakal on chocolate. In any case, the chocolate is the supplement. It's not the primary ingredient. Primary ingredient is peanut butter. Well, it's 100% peanuts. Maybe we should make hadama. It doesn't look like a peanut. It does taste like a peanut. It doesn't look like a peanut, and it's been processed and ground up, unrecognizable. And it's also
the same thing as a chocolate, like a piece of chocolate.
Yes, that's why we say shahakal on both.
Then why do people say dates?
People don't. Most people don't. There's just one opinion or 2 opinions. There's like a few people that are outlying. They really have a different understanding of the sources, and they say that if that's the fruit, that's what it's grown for, and chocolate, the cocoa bean is never eaten as a bean. It's eaten in the processed form when you cook it up and create a chocolate bar. So they say that chocolate, that's the primary way it's supposed to look, and they say you should say ha'etz. But most people say, no, that's not. That processing takes it out of its natural form. Same thing with the peanuts. Peanut butter. It's not peanuts. It's therefore shahakol, both on the peanut butter and the sugar. Sugar too, you could say the same thing. Sugar comes from the ground. It's a cane, sugar cane. It should be hadama. But the custom is that even if you eat a sugar cane, you say shahakal, because it's not quite really designed to be eaten that way. It gets processed, it gets granulated, and if you were to just eat some raw sugar, which is pretty much what these cookies, no. If you were eating some raw sugar, you would say shahakal, I think, not hadama, even though it grows from the ground, because it's really been changed from the normal way of eating it, from the original state. Anyways, back to the laws of sight. We started yesterday talking about the things 1079, 10 things you see. So I just want to continue on that a little bit. Let's say you live by the sea, by the ocean. Every day you look out your window and you see the sea. Do you make a bracha? Only if you don't see it for 30 days, not every 30 days. If you go traveling and you come back and say, it's so nice to be home, not because I like my couch, but it's so nice to be home because I get to see the ocean. Then you're excited by the ocean, and it's been 30 days, you can say another bracha. What's the bracha you would say on the ocean? Oseh Maaseh Bereshit. I think that's the most common custom. Although our Sidur says, She'asa et hayam hagadol. So the Yam HaGadol maybe refers only to the Atlantic Ocean, the Pacific Ocean, or one of the big ones. But the Mediterranean Ocean, Sea, it's a small one. You can't really tell if you're standing on the beach. It looks like a big ocean to me. So some people, it's pretty much interchangeable. You can say She'asa et hayam hagadol, because why is it Gadol? Because it's connected to Eretz Yisrael. Eretz Yisrael is the center of the universe. Thank you. So it's called Gadol because of its importance, not necessarily because of its size. And sure, the Mediterranean Sea is much smaller than the Atlantic or the Pacific. But the standard is we say Oseh Maaseh Bereshit. Similarly, if you go traveling and say you're going to go on a tiyul, I think next week we're going on a tiyul. Tu B'Shvat.
We're doing like agricultural work.
Oh, you're right. Maybe that's true.
So less of
No, the only thing I care about right now for this class is, are we going to see amazing sites where you go to the site and you say, "Wow, look at that canyon," or "What an impressive tree," or "Look at the ocean." If you're going sightseeing to see amazing sights, you make a bracha. Oseh Maaseh Bereshit.
When are we going to stay?
Thursday.
Thursday?
You're going. I know your first reaction, Eov, is.
But I have wedding.
Where is that?
Your wedding is Tuesday.
Mazel tov. Who's the lucky girl? Oh, not yours. Oh, okay. Very nice. Very nice.
we going?
Well, not to me.
I have a wedding next Thursday also. But, I also have a brit B'ezrat Hashem next Thursday. So actually, it might work out good. So I won't have to cancel class and I'll be able to go. My nephew just had a baby boy last night. And that means that 8 days later, it's going to be Thursday, B'ezrat Hashem next week. There'll be a brit. I don't know when they make it. Usually I say I don't go to britot in the mornings because I teach. You can't be everywhere at the same time. And Torah is more important. Even if it's a student, who I really love to participate in students' life cycles. Brit what?
Isn't the breed living Torah?
It's living Torah, but not for you. For me it would be, but not for you. And I can't cancel class every time there's a brit. So if it's in the afternoon, I can go. But if it's in the morning, I say I can't go. But if there's a tiyul next Thursday, then maybe you'll manage to do the tiyul without me, and I'll go to the brit. But we'll see. We'll see. I don't know when it is, where it is. B'ezrat Hashem.
Yeah, somewhere between Beersheba and Ofakim.
Oh yeah, in the south. Okay.
Ofakim is Otifazim.
Yeah. It's a small country. Everything's within an hour drive, pretty much, from Jerusalem. 2 hours, whatever.
Unless it's a
Yeah, 3 hours. Okay, it's still pretty close. My son just finished his miluim, Baruch Hashem. He's home, gave back his gun. For 2 months, he's home. Can sleep easy at night. Phew, Baruch Hashem.
Is it because of they went? I mean, when the war started, they went in first. Is it? That's why they have the 2 months break.
That's right. Well, he went in when the war started, and Israel was essentially calling as tons of reservists up. It's a reserves army. It means that the standing army is very small, but within a matter of minutes, matter of days, then all the units are called up and they get their guns back, and so that's the way Israel sort of manages to have a lot of security threats with a very small standing army, because the reserves. But the reserves, of course, have to be trained, and they go pretty much 1 month a year for training. They also do some guard duty. Now they're going to have more. This year they had 3 months already. They were called up anyways because of the war, and the assumption was that the fear was that the war will not be localized only in the south, but Hezbollah will join from the north, and the Arabs will join from Yehuda v'Shomron, and the Arabs will join from the mixed cities where there's Israeli Arabs. Like last time, there was an insurrection of Israeli Arabs who started to attack their neighbors. So it was a scary scene. Let alone Iran, we're not even mentioning, and now we know the Yemen, the Houthim. So right away, Israel called up a lot of people, and really until recently, the decision was made that, okay, maybe we can calm down. Maybe we're not going to have a 7-front war all at once. And so they did a lot of training. They did a lot of fighting. There is a sort of mini war going on in the northern border where my son was. He was involved with lots of bombs here and bombs there. And just the other day, they shot at a place where my son was previously, like he wasn't there at the time, exactly where he was lying for weeks underground and sort of in ambush, just in case they attacked us from the north. In any case, I guess what now the recent move has been that maybe there's not going to be a war on all fronts at once, and we can relax a little bit to send the people home a little bit. He's been told he's coming back. In 2 months, he's to come back again. But for now, there are a lot of people being released. Northern Gaza is more under control than it was, and so a lot of soldiers are being sent home. Baruch Hashem, there's still a lot of fighting going on, and it's not over yet. I hope our leaders get wisdom to lead us in the wisest way towards full victory, but it's very elusive, and Bezrat Hashem. We have to stop listening to all those experts on in the press, who, it's the same experts who told us on October 6th that Hamas is not interested in a war, and now those same experts are being interviewed and they're asked for their opinion. They don't know anything. They don't know. So we'll pray. We'll hope for the best. In any case, why did I mention this? Because I was going to say something very nice. That the distances, as I said, my son was serving on the northern border for most of those 3 months, which is very far from where we live, as Gedalia knows. Stationed in Ramat HaGolan the last month. How did he get back and forth? So of course he gets free buses because he's a Miluim, so he can get onto any bus. But the bus doesn't always come. It comes later. You've been up all night. You have been serving your country. So there's one of the silver linings of the last 3 months is that instead of trying to kill each other and protest against each other, we've been working together. And the volunteerism spirit has really swept this country in a way which is perhaps unprecedented. It's a beautiful thing. So one of the volunteer groups, we're going to go help farmers, for example, harvest their crops. Another one is, there's a few groups that got together and said, well, soldiers need to get home and back from their bases. We're going to give them lifts for free. And my son connected to a few of these organizations, and he said, basically they have a headquarters. You write in, you say, I need to get from the Golan to Jerusalem on this day at this time. And then the volunteers call in and they pick up, say, I'm ready, I'm willing to go. And he's been driven back and forth, almost door to door, by wonderful people. The first time my wife heard about this, she said, Am Yisrael is so beautiful, the volunteer spirit. And then my son says to her, actually the volunteer was a non-Jewish woman from Holland who's a tour guide in Israel. She lives here, guiding tours, and she has no work now because there's no tourists. So she decided to volunteer. She's not Jewish. So it's not Am Yisrael so beautiful, but the people of Israel and the people who live in Israel. The spirit is definitely catching on, and it's wonderful. People. This is the last guy he was a Jew, of course. The last guy took him. He said he went back to work. At the first, he started volunteering to drive. He has a car, and he pays the gas himself. It's hundreds, thousands of shekels a month. He does this every day. He's covered like tens of thousands of kilometers in the last, at his own expense. And then he went back to work because the war calmed down. Whatever, I don't know what line of work he was in, but he said to them, "I'm only willing to come back to work if you give me 1 day off a week, so that I can keep volunteering to drive." And that's what he does. 1 day a week, he at his own expense. And the workplace was nice enough to allow him off 1 day off. Amazing volunteerist spirit that's really unprecedented. Yes.
Nehusha
Yes.
is a moshav
Mhm.
that I lived before.
Mm-hmm.
So this system, you want to come to one city, you call some.
Yeah.
It's secret. You don't know who you should.
Right.
If you live there, you know. If you don't,
I see. So they have like an internal volunteer system to help their own. But this is what nationwide. Koach Iran. There's also Yeditim involved. And at first there was an Israeli singer, very famous, perhaps the most popular Israeli singer. I've heard of him, Omer Adam.
Yeah.
He said, "I'm paying out of pocket to for this transits to take soldiers back and forth from their bases to their homes." And he did that for like a month or something. The money ran out, but now there's other volunteers. But he got famous for his gift. It's a beautiful thing. Anyways, so yeah, traveling the country, the farthest you're going to get is 4-hour drive. But
I have a place
yeah,
that is written Mehusha. So anywhere I go, Mehusha.
yeah. If you want to lift to that place, you
Yes.
just hold up the sign.
Yeah.
Very nice. Okay, good.
And
You get lift.
I live.
Very nice.
I don't like it.
Right, it's a little dangerous.
The Golan, like everyone does.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there's been tragedies because of this, but because the terrorists have taken advantage of the goodwill system, and they put on a kippah or something and pretend to be your friend and give you a lift, and then they kill you. And that's what happened to a friend of mine. He was a soldier, and his plaque, his name is right here in the hallway. He was killed by terrorists. He was on his way to his army base, and he didn't show up. He was killed. This was 10 years ago or more. And Yeshua Friedberg, Canadian guy, is a cousin of my good friend, and I had the Shabbat meal with him a few weeks before. And then I was, for a few days, we went searching. People didn't know where he was, they didn't find his body for a long time. Till ultimately they found him, they kidnapped him, and then threw him off to the side of the road. And I was there when they found his body. I saw, saw his body, and just murderers. We live with murderers. It's very hard to face, so we sort of push it down and we go on living. We say, because of course they're not all murderers. Some of them are, doctors and nurses in our hospitals, and lawyers and very good people. But there is a strain there. There is a strain within the Arab culture which allows you to be very nice, and then if you turn your back, they can.
That we're not supposed to compliment.
There's lots of laws dealing with non-Jews, and especially with the pagans, the local pagans who are trying to take our country away. So there's laws that we're not supposed to let them stay in the country. But it's hard to apply them directly for the psukim in the Torah, which speak about pagans, to your average Joe, monotheists, the people that are good citizens. A lot of rabbis throughout the ages have said that all those laws apply to those barbarians. But if they're people that are good citizens and they're not bloodthirsty barbarians, so then those laws don't apply. But it's hard to distinguish. It's hard to know who's who and what's what. And we've had many people that were fired now from their jobs. Their jobs as nurses in the hospitals who work with Jews day in and day out, and then when they go home on their social media, they post support for Hamas. So it's very tricky business, and unfortunately, the education is such that the crazy, the radical, fanatic, bloodthirsty Islam education is very popular, very widespread. We have to fight it, but in any case, I don't want to talk more about politics now. We'll go back to the laws, the blessings. Yes,
Politics is the reality.
it's part of reality.
Nowadays,
Yes, the truth is there is a Rabbi Uri Sherki. By the way, he's a public lecture tonight in Yeshurun Synagogue. It's in Hebrew, but no, that's in the center of town. It's right near the Great Synagogue, not far.
Oh, yeah.
Yeshurun. It's just a block over next to Beit Avichai. I don't know if you were there. Anyways, he's an up-and-coming popular Torah teacher. He teaches here in Machon Meir, but also has a wide following. And I just saw today on the way in that there's a public lecture in this big shul. The seats like 300 or something. So if you want to check it out, you can go there tonight. In any case, Rav Sherky, why was I quoting him? What was I talking about?
Time is it?
Now?
No,
I think it's at 8 or something like that. Yeah. What was I talking about? Why am I mentioning Rav Sherky?
Nurses and the politics.
You just want to talk about politics.
The politics. And then, see, he says that of course rabbis have to talk about politics. What are they going to talk about? Just the laws of blessings? What is politics? In this country, it's about how to run the country. It's about how to live a life. What we are now, this is a Torah value to establish a Jewish state and to make it better, acting according to the rules of the Torah and the values of the Jewish people. So that's what politics does. So of course the rabbis have to talk politics. That's what he says always. I mean, obviously, it's a wonderful principle. It's true. The value is true that of course we care about not only blessings, we care about how to run the country, how to deal with everything should be seen through the eyes of Torah. But ultimately, the details, I think, is what usually bogs you down. This party, that party, once you get branded, once it becomes a political rally instead of a value-based discussion. And that's what's so scary, what's so difficult about talking politics. But you're right, Benjamin. Politics is important to discuss if it's Israeli politics, if it's about how to live in our country with our neighbors, with our Jewish neighbors, with our non-Jewish neighbors, how to run the economy. All those are issues which the Torah has what to say about, and let alone the elephant in the room of the last year, the legal system. But so sure, it's politics, but the politics is just the playing field for values and principles, which, of course, rabbis are supposed to talk about. What are we supposed to talk about? It's not only about ritual law. There's also civil law and criminal law and national success is part of our religious life. What do we call our group? Religious nationals or national religious or something like that. And it was the nationalism, my nationalism doesn't come from rah, I'm a patriot, this is my flag and I live here and I'm proud of my country. It's a Torah value to have a nation of Israel who's living in the country, right, Amram? This is a new part of Judaism which you don't get in Colombia. There, what are you going to talk about the state of Israel? It's nothing to do with us. Right?
The other day, the guy asked me, where you going? I said, I'm African. He says, okay. What you doing here? I said, I'm studying in my home here. So, what you do with the war? I said, I can't go to the war, but you must worry. You're Israeli. Forget it, who you are. Now, I'm Israeli.
You're Israeli, so you got to do something.
Yeah.
Well, this is what we're doing. I think this is part of the war effort. Those who are not on the front lines, there's plenty to do. We're studying, we're learning Torah, we're praying for the success of the army. We're going to vote for people who are supporting the war effort, not the opposite. So sure, every citizen has and I always say it, I'll say it again. I said it the other day to one of you sitting here, I think, or maybe somebody else. When you make aliyah, of course, a lot of people want to go to the army, to contribute. And I believe it's a mitzvah to go to the army. But it's also a mitzvah. The army's not for everybody. Depends on your age, depends on your circumstances. There's also a mitzvah just to live in Israel and to be a productive citizen, to work here, to pay taxes here, to help society grow, and to be nice to each other. All of that is part of the war effort. It's part of our national goals. So you don't only have to go to the army, but a lot of young guys. And I did that. I came and I volunteered to go to the army because I realized it was a mitzvah. I was able-bodied, 17-year-old, 18-year-old. I went into the army. I went in at 19. I studied for 2 years in yeshiva. Then went to the army for a year.
Were you in Hester?
I was in a form of Hesder. It was called for Chutz La'aretz. I was not yet a citizen. I knew I was going to become a citizen. I figured I'll do the army now, not later. I'll do the army when I'm young, with my friends, with my same age guys. And so I did that. I drove a tank on the Golan Heights for a number of months, as well as other places in the country. And so yes, of course, I believe it's a big mitzvah to go into the army, and I'm not sorry that I did it, but it's not the only way. People get a little bit over zealous about specifically the army, where it's not always, sometimes people are disappointed that they're too old, or for whatever reason they can't be in a combat unit, and if you can, it's a wonderful thing, but you don't feel bad if you're not. There's so many ways to contribute to this country, and it doesn't have to be through tzahal. And Bezrat Hashem, if you build a family here, your children will go to tzahal. Oh, by then we'll be the Peace Corps, right? We won't have any more wars. But if we still need an army. If we still need an army, we don't have flowers in the barrels of the guns. We still have bullets. So then, Bezrat Hashem, if not you, your wife, maybe she'll be in the army, or your children. Women, they shouldn't go to the army, but there are always exceptions. Yes.
In the Arabian dialect, it's different now. People say,
Yeah.
Before?
People are nicer now, huh?
Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. That's as I said, the silver lining of this horrible war is that there is a change in the Israeli society. Again, maybe you don't see it so much in the press. Don't watch the press too much. But among the people, I was just taking my son to school this morning because he's out of the army. And I asked him, because he just came from 3 months in the army, and said, was there any tensions, religious, secular? He's a very religious guy. He's learning Torah. He does Daf Yomi. He was finishing Masechta. And the guys that he's with, 24/7, they're not religious whatsoever, of all ages, between 23 and 43, pretty much, of all ages, of all kinds of guys, with all kinds of piercing and tattoos, and all kinds of people that are doctors, lawyers, accountants, rabbis, of all kinds of Jews, secular, 80% secular and 20% religious, maybe 70-30 in his unit. So I asked him, was there any trouble? He said, almost nothing. It's not an issue whatsoever. Well, if you read the newspapers, it's like, Israelis are tearing each other apart. The secular is fighting against the religious, and the religious are fighting against the secular, and these guys are calling these guys names, and these guys... In the grassroots level, specifically in the army, but also if people would not be influenced by the press, everybody's respectful of each other. You do what you do, I'll do what I do. We're both in it. We're all in this together. We're fighting for our country. We're fighting for our people. It's wonderful. I was so pleased when he told me that. He said here and there this was an issue of kashrut here, and there was some flare-ups, but nothing serious, nothing that would change. Nobody thinks in those terms anymore. It was just they were all fighting. They were all doing the same guard duty, and they were all doing the same training, and they were all. And it turns out that their commander was religious, but as I said, 70% non-religious soldiers. It was a non-issue, which is important for us to remember that we have to be together, and our enemies are trying to kill us all, whether we're religious or secular. And What does the big signs on the billboards say? Yachad Nenatzeach. Somehow this slogan caught on. Together we will be victorious. Together we got to make sure that. And sure, there are some people that are more open to religious types of statements or thinking or behaviors now than they were in the past. I think we also have to be more open to accepting.
There's no atheist in a foxhole.
I've heard that.
That's what my rabbi in Golan said.
But we have to recognize that sometimes there are atheists also. And doesn't mean that they're going to Miluim. They're fighting for the Jewish people. Even though their practice at home, they're going to be eating non-kosher or whatever. In the army, they ate the kosher food, and they didn't they were not against it on a principled manner. And so we maybe have to do tshuva as well as they. We all tend to, or drawn, especially by the press that likes the fight. Otherwise, that's what sells newspapers, right? So they like to build up the fight, the tensions between the groups, and our job is to not let them and be accepting of each other, even if we don't agree on how to live our lives. And we're gonna, we have a democracy. We'll see how every group will try to further their opinions, but in the end of the day, we're all in it together. Be'ezrat Hashem. Back to the laws of brachot. If you're going on a tiyul and you're going to look at the amazing mountains, some people say, well, we shouldn't make these brachot anymore because we travel. It used to be you go walking for a day, for 5 days, 10 days. Wow, then you see a big mountain. Now, in 5 minutes, you can get into your car and you'll see the ocean. 5 minutes in the other direction, you'll see the Mount Arbel, very impressive mountain in the Galil. You drive for another 5 minutes, and you can see Tukmanara, the great cliff in the north. You drive in a little bit more, and you'll see the caves of, what's that called? Up in north, in Nahariya, there. Rosh Hanikra. So you can always see this amazing wild stuff. Not only that, pull the phone out of your pocket, you push play, you can see the Grand Canyon, you can see the Alps, and you can see all the amazing places in the world in a second. We're very jaded sometimes. So some people say we shouldn't make these brachot anymore because the brachot are not going to be heartfelt enough. As I said, we ended off yesterday talking about how that's not ideal. We should not be jaded. We should be excited. We should really be impressed. And ultimately, the halacha follows the majority of people. So the majority of people, that's where we get the 30 days thing, is that if you haven't seen something amazing, most people are amazed by it. Most people are amazed when they see the sea. The sea is vast. The sea is amazing. And if they haven't seen it in 30 days, you're going to go and stop and take in the sights and say, wow, that's why there's a boardwalk. Because people like to walk by the sea and to see the amazing sights. So if you haven't seen it in 30 days, you should make a bracha. But if you live there, you're used to it, you don't make the bracha. Okay. What else? What else did I wanted to tell you about these brachot? Thunder and lightning. So the truth is, there's one category, and that's amazing sights. But then there's amazing events that happen. So we started to talk about them yesterday. Like we said, a lightning or thunder. It's an amazing storm. Here too, you can make either brachot, but the custom is to make oseh maaseh bereshit on lightning. And thunder, which you feel is stronger a little bit, because thunder can be a thunderclap, and the noise is very loud. So the custom is to say shekocho ugvaroto malei olam. That's the bracha at the bottom, page 1079, three from the end. Hope you know it off by heart, because when you hear thunder, it's going to be hard to pull out your siddur How long do you have after hearing thunder to make the bracha? About 2-3 seconds. The amount of time it takes you to say 3 words. The standard 3 words that are used is Shalom Alecha Rabbi. Shalom Alecha Rabbi. Some people say you have a little longer. Shalom Alecha Rabbi Umori. 4 words. My master and my teacher. But that's just the standard for the amount of time it takes to say 3 words, which is not very long. So if you see the lightning, you got to make the bracha right away. If you didn't, you missed it out. You sit there, wait, maybe you'll get another chance. But if you didn't say it on time, you're going to miss it out. You got to say it right away. Okay? Now there is the following halacha. Let's say it's a stormy day. We're in the winter. Right now, it doesn't look like winter outside. It's a little cold, but there's no storm. You could have a rainy storm like we had last week. I think we had 3 days in a row. There was this overcast sky. Let's say you have a thunderstorm for 3 days in a row. You could hear thunder in 1 hour 10 times. Do you make a bracha each time you hear the thunder? No. Only once for each storm. Except for each new day, the clock starts again. Even if it's the same storm, but it's the next day now, you go into day 2, you make once a day, you make shikochok v'rotam ala'olam when you hear the first thunder, and if you see the first lightning, osem aseh bereshit, and then if you see another lightning or another thunder on that day, if it's the same storm, you don't make another bracha, it's included in the amazement of that storm. But if the storm passes, and then a few hours later, right, the skies clear up, and a few hours later, you get a new storm that comes in, then you make a new bracha. You hear thunder, you hear lightning, even if it's the same day. If it was totally clear and then comes back again, it's considered to be a new storm, new thunder, new lightning, and you can make it twice in 1 day. For each storm, that's a separate storm, you can make these brachot, osem aseh bereshit and shikochok v'rotam. By the way, it's not only thunder, it's also wind, like a hurricane, like it says in the book. Experience a hurricane or a tornado. Make a bracha. Also, go deep. Find some safe space to be. If you're in a weak, rickety home, the whole home could be destroyed by a tornado. You better find that. What's it called? A storm shelter, underground, tornado shelter. Right? You have underground people. And the Wizard of Oz. Didn't you see the Wizard of Oz? They go underneath. So you should make a bracha. And if you see 2 in 1 day, well, if it's part of the same storm, only 1 bracha. But if it's cleared up and then a new tornado comes, you would make another one. Shikochok v'rotam ala'olam. Yeah.
It's a science of it. Why is tornado in the States? Why don't we see that in other countries?
I think there are tornadoes in other countries all around the world. The tornadoes, for example, you might where you grew up, you know the term tsunami. What is a tsunami? It's when there's a tornado in the ocean, and that causes the waves to come. But basically, most tsunamis are caused by tornadoes that in the ocean. Am I wrong? Huh?
Earthquake.
I don't know. I don't think that's so.
Doesn't sound right? Doesn't sound right? That's what I understood.
Tsunami.
Let's say you have an earthquake.
In Japan and England.
You make a bracha. Shekochok v'rotam ala'olam is what I would say. His power. When you're feeling God's might, God's power and His strength, then you make a bracha. Also, you should do whatever. What are you supposed to do when there's an earthquake? If you're in a building, you leave because the building could crash on you. Most people get hurt. They get hurt from the debris of the building falling on you. So the safest place to be in an earthquake is actually outside. So, and if you can't get outside, so you go underneath something that's going to protect you from the falling bricks or whatever it is. But they have in Israel, like in most countries, they have drills in the schools, earthquake drills.
Are earthquakes a thing?
It is a thing. It is a thing. Unfortunately, in the land of Israel, we're very earthquake prone because we're on the rift, the African-Syrian rift it's called, right in between these two continents. And so there's like the tectonic plates that move. And so the average since time that's been recorded is about every 100 years or so there's a major earthquake. And so, of course, every once in a while, there's a government report, which says, we're not ready for the earthquake, all the preparedness we're supposed to do, right? There's the building code says you have to build a building strong enough to withstand an earthquake. Well, we haven't been following the code here and there, and there has to be all sorts of shelters, also because the assumption is there won't be electricity or any water when there's if it's a major earthquake, everything gets disrupted, and we need more hospitals, and we're going to need people. A lot of people die in earthquakes, so. But of course, the government always has other priorities, and they say, I can't spend money on earthquake preparedness because I got a war against Hamas to fight. They just made a new budget. I think the budget of the army went 6 times what it was before, and before it was still number one element in the country's budget. So
it's about fighting war.
Makes sense. But at the same time, the earthquake doesn't care if you're fighting a war or not. It's going to come every 100-something years. We're not stupid. We know this is the way nature works. And so it's we're in a tough spot now because of the war that we weren't prepared for. And we're in a tough spot when it comes to an earthquake that we're not prepared for. It's been almost 100 years. Yeah. Almost.
It's also destroyed the Al-Aqsa Mosque a couple of times.
There's opportunities, you say. Just as long as you manage to survive it, there's opportunities for rebuilding afterwards. I don't know. Anyways, hopefully Hashem will protect us and send the earthquake in the most safe way that nobody will get hurt. But we should be more prepared. And that's why part of the preparedness is teaching school children. If they're all in school, what do you do? So if you can, get out of the building. If not, you crouch underneath the desk, the table, whatever it is. Anyways, if you hear an earthquake and you have the presence of mind and you're not rushing to save your life, make a bracha. It's amazing power and strength of God. If you happen to be in a safe space and you're just being amazed that the earth is shaking, wow, you feel the power of God who created this universe. By all means, be ready. Part of readiness for the earthquake is having, like I said, shelters and medical care and buildings strong enough and knowing the right bracha. So we're doing our part here in class of being ready for the earthquake by knowing what the bracha is.
I mean, this is something with you travel. I had the opportunity to travel a lot, and you see misery go around.
Yeah.
People.
Because of earthquakes, you're saying?
Tsunami, poverty.
Yeah.
What they call it? It comes from the sky. Thunder.
Thunder, yeah.
And people.
Yes, a lot of human suffering around the world from nature. Yeah.
So you see things that you say, oh, where am I living?
We're very blessed. We should say thank you every day that we have. What do we say in the morning blessings? One of the blessings is Roka haaretz al hamayim. Thank you for having solid ground underneath us. We don't appreciate it every day. We wake up, we consume, we take our feet off the bed, we hit solid ground. It's not so simple. Solid ground is something to bless Hashem and our sages in the morning blessings. We say it every day. But also, when you experience God's power in this area, in a specific area, which is extraordinary. We mentioned, I don't know if we mentioned yesterday, comets.
Comets.
What is a comet?
Oh, a star.
A star, shooting star. It's an amazing phenomenon. Usually a comet is an asteroid which enters our atmosphere and it burns up and you see it. You see it like a streak of light.
Make a wish.
Make a bracha. Don't make a wish, make a bracha. The Jewish way is to make a
It's a
bracha.
wonder of nature.
It's a wonder of nature. It's something amazing. People look at it and they say, wow. People stay up all night. People travel to the desert areas where there's no light pollution, so they can see more of them. There's what's it called, the Palisades or something like that. Every year there's a season where there's a phenomenon that there's like in 1 or 2 nights tons and tons of shooting stars. It's based on the way the Earth rotates, and you can see it. I think it's every August or something. So people go, they travel to the darkest place in the country, like in the middle of the desert in the Negev or something, and they camp out and they don't light any lights, and then they lie back all night and they count the shooting stars and that. So I would say one bracha for all of them. But if you see them separate from each other, one night you see a shooting star, and the next night you see another one, you'd make 2 brachas.
It's also a bit hard, like NASA is sending missiles, and there are satellites coming down and going up.
Very rare, very rare. Well, no, mostly. We know that they're actual phenomenons of nature, not human. The truth is, there is a bracha for human, remarkable human activity. Let's look at that on the next page. So there's a few brachot on human activity, not only God's activity. Because there's some humans that are just so amazing and remarkable. We saw it in the card game, right? What's the example in the card game? The president, the prime minister, the royalty. You see a king. There's a different bracha for a king of a Jewish king and a bracha for a non-Jewish king. Natan michvodo lebasar vadam. And I don't know where the bracha is for the Jewish king. It's so funny. This is a strange siddur. It doesn't have the bracha. Natan mikvodo lireav. It says the version here is on page 1081 in the middle. It says, there it is. Shechalak michochmato lireav. I'm seeing an outstanding Torah scholar. It says, who shared his wisdom with those who revere him. And if you see an amazing scholar who's not a Torah scholar, he's a secular scholar. I always bring the example, if you see Einstein, although it's not such a great example because he was Jewish. If you see an amazing... Mary Curie, sure. Amazing scientist who's clearly genius. Make a bracha upon seeing a genius for a secular scholar, as well as not only for a Torah scholar.
I think she's Polish.
Polish, huh? Not Jewish. Not Jewish. But there's there's many examples. But the truth is, Rav Melamed got into a little bit of trouble in his book here. I believe he says something that if you see an amazing athlete, an Olympic athlete, he's achieved greatness that in the human activity, which is amazing. He can run faster than any human being alive. You see the fastest man in the world. So you should make a bracha. Because it's an amazing feat. It's outstanding. Anything outstanding that is wondrous, you connect it to God and you thank Hashem for creating such amazing people that could accomplish such amazing things. It's not only wisdom that we value also amazing physical prowess. And of course, people get into sports now in all sorts of ways. And sports stars, nowadays you can never be sure, really, but they're just taking steroids. I don't know. But if we stop being cynical, someone's very good at what they do. You should appreciate that. What did we say? Radical amazement. Wonder is a very basic religious muscle that we should have. And saying these blessings is the way that the Torah guides us in that direction. So seeing a royalty or seeing what else? Something strange. You see a man with, I don't know, 6 fingers.
Running like a dwarf.
A dwarf. Yes. Yes. So nowadays it's very confusing because we want to accept and we want to be inclusive of all types of disabilities. It's called a disability. We have here, a year, 2 years ago, a student who was a dwarf. His parents were dwarfs. They don't call them that anymore. You're not allowed to say dwarf. Little people, exactly. He was really, really small. And about a year ago, I did a wedding for another student who was from Holland, a Ger from Holland. Very tall, blonde. And they were best buddies. This little person, this American kid, and this tall Dutch guy, and they were dancing in the middle of the circle. It was beautiful. So of course we want to be inclusive and not judge people by how tall they are or how strange looking they are. And I totally think that's a mitzvah. It's a wonderful mitzvah to be sensitive to other people and not to, make them feel stigmatized in any way. Other hand, if there is a feature, somebody has a feature which is remarkable, it makes you stand back and wonder, you've never seen such a person before, there's a bracha for that because you're connecting that to God. And it's part of your wonder, this element of wonder in your life is thanking Hashem. You should be always connected to God. And in your relationship with God, whenever you have a wonder, there's a bracha for that. The bracha here, it's on the page, number 3 on the page, 1081. Baruch Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, mishaneh habriyot. We mentioned it before. The Talmud brings an example when there were all white people and they never saw a black person in their life. So when a black person showed up, they made the bracha. Could be the opposite. The people that, if there was a Jewish community in the black and they see a white person, I remember I went to Africa. The kids gathered around me because I was what's it called? The white man, Mungo, something like that. Yeah. They saw a white person. It was a wonder. So that if they're Jewish, they should make a bracha, mishaneh habriyot, for a white person. It's not racist per se. It's just when you see a phenomenon. The truth is, there is a bracha for seeing.
No, they have white people, black people, brown people.
It's all colors, yeah.
China? You go to a village in China? White man.
Yeah? Yeah, the small villages who never leave their village their whole lives. They see people only their ethnic, their ethnicity, their ethnic color, or whatever shape, form.
The girl in Guinea Equatorial, the 3 German girls went to make field studies.
Yeah.
And the kids in the bush saw them. They run after them. And they say, please help me, help me. And
Right.
oh, it was so fantastic. I say, don't run because the boys will run after you.
Won't help to run away, yeah. Right. You speaking the same language? What?
It's talking bad about India. Understood.
Oh,
China together in the India.
I see. That's. So when you sort of if you get white and brown, you get mocha, right? But no, seriously, if you do say a bracha because you see a person who's extraordinary, make sure you're sensitive. Don't say it to his face; it'll make him feel embarrassed, right? Something like that. I mean, there's even a discussion. It could be that you see a beautiful woman and people's heads are turning because she's just so beautiful. Maybe you should say a bracha. Now you got to be careful. You don't want to, be lusting, and you don't want to be drawn into thoughts about, if you're a guy, about a woman, girl for a guy. You got to be careful that the laws of modesty are not avoided. But theoretically, if everything is, what do they call it, platonic, and you're just gazing at the beauty of a person, like Rav Listman walked in, he's so beautiful. We should all make a bracha. But which bracha should we say?
Oh, I'm a great tourist.
Mishaneh Abriot.
Please don't. The greatness is over. I can be the towel.
Baruch Hacham Arazim. No, Shenatan Michochmato Lireyav. Berchat Hariyah. Yes.
How are we today, gentlemen? I
Wonderful.
feel the warmth of Torah, the warmth of the love of Torah in this room.
Ashreinu.
Special. Today, as a bribery, we get you know.
The Shahako, the Shahako.
The famous Peter Butter cookies?
They're not. They're the infamous. But these didn't come out the way they're supposed to come out. I tried a new recipe. Are they good enough to eat? Yeah, they're
Rob is
okay.
very
They're
daring.
okay.
I'm like, I wouldn't even dare to start making cookies. I never I left it. Rob is very daring. Call it Kabbalah that you have. This morning, probably you know the schedule. We have Rabbi Menachem in the middle of the morning, wrote the tshuva, and then Rabbi Alex Yosef. This afternoon, regular shul for Arieli upstairs. And today we're going to be learning the Haftarah at 3, plus the deep connection between Tefillin and the Exodus of Egypt. That will be at 3 o'clock.
The Ramban at the end of Parshat Bo.
Ken Rabbi, the Divrei Nechama. Lego of Machon Meir, Fleece Ratchanan Torah, Rabbi Shalom. על ההתגבשות של האש הלוהטת של יציאת מצרים בתוך התפילין.
Chama Leibovitz. Chama Leibovitz. I had a bar mitzvah boy in my Shabbos table a few weeks ago. He's going to be bar mitzvah, and his mother's a single mom. Okay, the husband's not around. So in her honor, I said to her, I want to give you a Dvar Torah about tefillin from a woman. So she could relate, that she's the mother of the bar mitzvah boy. And I said the word from the Chama Leibovitz about the tefillin. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful word. Beautiful word.
Yeah, what else do I say? The Shabbat, of course, we have 2 or 3 great activities. We have the Shabbat night, Oleg Shabbat by Yosef Patterson, Weinberg, as we go together with Idan. Shabbat morning is going to be, at the end of the Tefillah, a Brit Milah. I don't know exactly which married guy in the Israeli department has a Brit. And then after the Brit, after the Tefillah and the Brit Milah, there's going to be a Kiddush in the Emunah classroom in honor of the Brit and in honor of his sister. The twins born. So that'll be a Kiddush in the morning, and then the Sudah. And Sudah Shishit we're going to have with Rabbi Yisrael Rosenberg in the Sifriyat together. And we're going to have a film, Motzei Shabbat. I'm not going to tell you what the subject is, and there'll be some treats there as well.
It'll be a war film, if I guess correctly. Maybe a Jewish war film.
Did you watch Exodus?
The movie? I don't think I ever watched it. I read the book.
Like 4 hours long.
I read the book, but it was good stuff. Anyways, good novel. A lot of people's Zionism comes from reading Exodus. Leon Uris is a famous author. Wrote a book, quite a few books. He was a Jew. It's about American Jews and European Jews and early Zionist period, sort of bringing it to life through this dramatic novel. Anyways, okay, the laws of brachot. Let's.
Oh, what were you doing in Africa?
I was looking for sparks, holy sparks. They said there's
Oh, were you there for conversion?
there were conversions being done when I was there. I didn't do conversions, but yes, there is a group called the Abba Yudaya,
Yeah.
who they're actually from Uganda.
Wow.
Kenya is another group, but the Abba Yudaya is mainly in Uganda, and I was lucky enough to teach a few of them, and then one of them got married there. First Jewish wedding in Uganda, I think, ever. So they flew me in, and I was there for a week wonderful experience. I didn't eat much, but I was afraid of getting malaria, and all those kind of things, and those diseases. I took the pills. But anyways, yes, I was in Africa a little bit, just for 1 week. Fascinating content. It's It's a shame that it's so underdeveloped. Uganda is called the Pearl of Africa. Very beautiful. What?
Chinese will take care of it.
Then God help us from the Chinese. That's the problem. No harm. I don't want to talk politics now, but this is values. Very, very murderous government right now. Murderers and dictatorship. It doesn't give people freedom, and they're supporting our enemies. They found Chinese weapons in the Hamas. It's a terrible intelligence breach that Israeli intelligence didn't know about any of this stuff.
We have weapons from the Russians. They find Russian weapons.
Yeah, but I think it's bad thing there's a moral difference. The point is there's a moral difference between giving guns to murderers and giving guns to peaceful democracies. So that's why we're shocked that countries that respect themselves would sell their weapons to disgusting murderers, barbarians who slaughter children with those guns. So obviously it's complicated, but that's just the fact that we have guns and they have guns. That doesn't mean that it's okay to go sell guns to them and to them. You shouldn't sell guns to people that are murderers and barbarians, rapists, right? Makes sense?
Sweden selling guns?
I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah.
You don't know, but it is there.
Okay.
To Israel?
No.
Palestinians?
Well, I have an Austrian gun. That's just where it's a very popular brand, but Okay. Anyways, let's pray for our hostages. Page 231, and then we'll learn something for Shabbat because it's Erev Shabbat. It's Thursday. 231 at the bottom. Kol Beit Yisrael, Kol Beit Yisrael, Anatu Yitzara B'Tzara U'B'Shivya, Omdim Bein V'Yav V'Yav Ha'achenu Kol Beit Yisrael, Ha'achenu Kol Beit Yisrael, Atuni B'Tzara U'B'Shivya, Omdim Ben V'Yav 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 Hamako Yerachem Yeh Mitzvah Mishiabot Legeola Stabagala Ubizman Kawavari Vamako Ahalel Yotze Mitzvah Liyava Ueyavel Leora Shiabot Legeola Hashta Bagala Ubizman Kawavari. Okay, I do want to finish off the topic of the blessings on sight. So please go back to 1081 one more time. I was mentioning that if you see somebody particularly beautiful, or if you see a particularly beautiful prize-winning horse, what do they have? Beauty contests for horses, those kind of dogs.
Dog shows.
So you can make a bracha if you're impressed by it. Some people They say, I don't know the difference between this dog or that dog. I'm not an expert. I don't know. I don't appreciate. But if you do appreciate it, the bracha is what the number 2 on page 1081. Baruch Hashem Elokeinu l'cholam, shekacha lo ba'olamo. Has created such things in his world. An amazing thing. Also, beautiful flowers. You see beautiful flowers.
So this when you see a beautiful woman?
So that's what I was saying before. Theoretically, yes. Although you got to make sure not to gaze at beautiful women because it might lead you astray to lustful thoughts. But if it happens and you're amazed by it, you should say this bracha. Okay, so that's the bracha for beautiful scenes. They're not amazing. Wow, a Grand Canyon, but it's just such a beautiful flower. You can meditate on a flower. You can make a bracha on that. Some people are hesitant because it's hard to gauge exactly how amazed you have to be. And you may see flowers every day. But if it is something that's very unique, very extraordinary, then you should say a bracha. I want to say one more word about the bracha on the rainbow as well. We said yesterday, what's the bracha? You see it on the previous page?
No.
Not shachrit. Zocher habrit. The second to the last one on page 1079. Zocher habrit, rainbow. Zocher habrit v'ne'eman b'vrito v'kayam b'mamaro. Obviously referring to the covenant in the book of Bereshit about that God's not going to destroy the world. Now I started to say that it says in the Talmud, a person should not look at a rainbow.
It says in the Talmud?
Yes.
Because
Chagigat Tzayin, Amud Aleph. It's like you're not. What? Why do you say?
Because it might bring justice, right? To
Hmm.
see the
Right.
rainbow itself. It reminds us that Hashem, one of his attributes is being
Strict judgment. Yeah, I understood it a similar idea that essentially, what is the rainbow a covenant? What is it a sign of which covenant?
Peace.
What do you need peace for? What does God have to give us a covenant of peace?
Because we hate each other.
Well, because once upon a time we were evil, and God destroyed the world with the flood, and then He said, "Okay, I'm not going to do this anymore." So I'm going to put a sign. When is the sign there? The sign is there when God is thinking the people deserve to be killed, but here's the rainbow reminder of my covenant, my promise. I'm not going to do it. So essentially, it's a bad sign. If you see a rainbow, it means that God probably is angry at us. And so that's one interpretation of why the Talmud says don't look at the rainbow. Another interpretation, which I like, is as follows. It doesn't really say that you shouldn't see it. Of course, there's a bracha, so you have to see it. If you can't make a bracha unless you see it. What it means is you shouldn't gaze at the rainbow and rely on it. In other words, you could say to yourself, well, God has a promise He's not going to destroy the world. So I can be as evil as I want. We don't have to fix the world because we've got this covenant. So that's what it means, don't gaze at the rainbow. In other words, don't rely on God's promise. Make sure our job is to fix the world. Our job is to make it a world a better place. Not to just say, we can do anything I want because God said He's not going to destroy the world. So that's what it means, don't stare at it. It's not really a question of whether you stare at it for 1 second or 30 seconds or a minute. The point is, how do you live your life? Do you live your life saying, well, I'll do whatever it doesn't matter what I do because God is going to protect me. No, our job is to do the best we can and not rely on God's promise, even though we appreciate that He gave it to us and we make a bracha on it. So that's why some people will say to you, hey, look, there's a rainbow. Because they're amazed and they want to make the bracha. But other people say, I don't want to look. Because there's this tradition in the Talmud that you shouldn't look at the rainbow. It's a sign of God is angry at us or something like that. So you can see there's a tension. But again, there is a bracha. So obviously, maybe look and don't stare at it for a long time. Or really, it's not a question of how long you stare at it. The question is, what's the message? What's the message that you're receiving? When you see the rainbow, A, be amazed at God's wonder, beautiful nature. B, be thankful to Hashem that He gave us a covenant. And C, maybe use it as a moment of teshuvah, a moment to inspire yourself to make sure that our world is worthy of not being destroyed. Yeah.
I was thinking, like, when you see the rainbow and you realize that Hashem is not gonna destroy the world with water, but He can destroy it with fire.
Aha. You're saying that covenant is limited to only floods.
Yeah.
But if it's not a flood, okay. Yeah, I think the idea to not look is sort of against this whole idea of brachot. You're supposed to appreciate and see. There's one other bracha. It's at the top of the next. Which page is that? I saw it.
81.
Top of 1081. It's said usually once a year when you see blossoming trees. The first time in the year. The custom is to do it in Nisan. The Kabbalists said specifically Nisan, that month of Pesach, is the best time for saying that bracha. But basically you're appreciating the blossoming trees. Usually we look for fruit trees, more than one, because the bracha is in plural. But the truth is, let's say you live in the southern hemisphere. You make the bracha not in Nisan. You make it in a different month of the year when the trees are blossoming. It's a beautiful blessing. Usually it's done together as a group. Minyan is ideal, but you don't have to. It's just adding to the enhancement, to the grandeur of the event of thanking Hashem for this beautiful trees. Let's read the bracha together. Shmuel, read it in English. Blessed are you, Lord God, King of the universe. Top of 1080.
Who has held nothing from his world, but has created in beautiful creatures and trees for human beings to enjoy.
So He created in it beautiful creatures and trees for human beings to enjoy. You see that? He created it for us to enjoy. We're not supposed to not look at it and always be serious. You must go out at least once a year and look at the blossoming fruit trees and thank Hashem, who withheld nothing from this world. Shelo chisar, look at the Hebrew in 1081. Shelo chisar ba'olamo klum. What's chisar? What's chaser? Lack. He didn't make anything lacking from the world. God created so many species of fruit, so many species of animals, so many species of flowers, so many species of insects. The world is amazing. And our job, this bracha teaches us, guides us, that we're supposed to appreciate that, and to enjoy it. And of course, in holiness, of course, in connecting it and appreciating the Creator who gave all this to us. Yeah. All right. There is a bracha, it's on the page here, Chacham Arazim, which is when you see 600,000 Jews together. They say at Rav Ovadiah's funeral there was 800,000 Jews. But they were lining the streets. It wasn't all in one place. It was hard, but you can get gatherings like that of 600,000 Jews. It's amazing bracha, where Hashem says He knows all the secrets. It means He knows all the secrets of each and every individual, even though there's a great mass of people. Okay, we're going to learn something for Shabbat. Which song should we learn about Shabbat? Everybody knows it already.
Go on then.
Everybody knows it already. Okay, we'll come back. We'll do more blessings from this page. Bezat Hashem, we're not finished yet. I thought it would be quicker, but there's just so many. Baruch Hashem. There's one line bracha, but there's rules about it that I talk about it for 10, 15 minutes each bracha, and we're not finished yet. But let's turn to page. A beautiful blessing on page 436. It's an Ashkenazi tune. It's really caught on everywhere. And my son said to me, this is his favorite prayer of the entire year. Every week, Friday night. It's a nice tune, but also the meaning. And of course, the atmosphere. It's Friday night. You've completed your week. You're wearing your finest. But the holiness has just came, page 436. The holiness is you're trying to feel. If you ever feel holiness, perhaps Friday night is an opportunity not to miss. What is this called? Did you see the top of the page? What's this called? This prayer?
Main Sheva.
Main Sheva. Wait. Do you know the words Main Shalosh? What's Main Shalosh? It's an after blessing.
Like the three.
Like the three. What it means like three. What is that? What kind of name is that? Like three. What does like three mean? It's like Birkat HaMazon. Birkat HaMazon is three. At least the original was. And the short after bracha, the Alamichya, otherwise known as, it's called Mein Shalosh because it's like the original. What's the original? Birkat HaMazon. So what's Mein Sheva? It's like the seven. What's the seven? The Amidah on Shabbat is not 19 blessings, but it's 7 blessings. And here, Shmuel asked me the other day, how come at Ma'ariv we don't have Chazarat HaShatz? I should have answered him, we do. Friday night. We have a repetition of the leader. This is a form of, it's not a full repetition, it's a little bit, you can see in the middle of the page, Baruch Atah Hashem, the Chazan starts out like he starts out the Amidah, Elokeinu, Elokei Avotenu, K'Avraham, Elokei Yitzchak, Elokei Yaakov, Kel Gadol Gibor Ben Ra, Kel Elyon. But then it changes it, and then we have one blessing that ends up with, on the next page you see it ends up with Baruch Atah Hashem Mekadesh Shabbat, just like the middle blessing of the Amidah on that we all said in our silent Shemona Esrei. But he doesn't say the rest of the beginning. He doesn't say all 3 blessings at the beginning. He doesn't say the 3 blessings afterwards. That's why it's called Me'ein Sheva. It's like a one short version of the original Shemona Esrei. This custom is a funny. Anybody know where it comes from? We don't have Chazarat HaShatz at Mariv except for Friday night, and it's not a proper one either. Why did the rabbi said we don't need a Chazarat HaShatz for Mariv because it started off not being as obligatory as Shacharit and Mincha. But Friday night, yes. Do you know why? It's because now this morning you guys were earlier. You guys were okay this morning, except for Amram. Amram was late. Yesterday he was on time, so you evened out. But next week we're all going to do better about coming on time. But there was a phenomenon that people were coming late to shul. When? Specifically Friday night. Because, you're getting ready, you're taking a shower, last minute, right? Your wife has to light the candles, you got to get everybody dressed in their finest, you got to clean the house, you got to put the tablecloth on. There's so much to do on Friday, so people were coming late. Now, what's wrong with coming late? Well, what's wrong is that the synagogue in the times of Chazal, where this prayer was instituted, it was outside the city. It was in the field. They prayed in the fields. They had some kind of a structure in the middle of the fields. And the fields far out of the city were in a dangerous area. In those days, there were bandits, robbers, who could attack you if you were alone at night. Who's here from an inner city who knows what it's like to be afraid late at night? If you're walking alone, you could be attacked. Baruch Hashem, here in Israel, most of the cities are relatively safe. Much safer here than Chicago or Detroit. Are you kidding? People are killed every night in Detroit and Chicago. Crazy.
It's my favorite city.
You can't walk. But it's dangerous. So the bottom line is, the rabbi said, we don't want people to be in danger because they're coming to shul. Now, everybody is a group, the people who come on time, they go out to the shul together, they finish their davening, they leave, and they go back home to have kiddush, to eat their Friday night meal. But there's always the latecomers. The latecomers, they come late, and they haven't finished their prayers yet. We're afraid they're going to be left in the shul all by themselves, and they're going to be walking back all by themselves. They're going to be attacked. And they're going to be attacked by bandits. So you know what the rabbi said? We're going to stay a little longer so that those latecomers can catch up. And they'll leave together with everybody, and they won't be left all by themselves. And the way they extended the prayer service on Friday night, they added this pseudo repetition, the Me'ein Sheva Bracha. And this Me'ein Sheva Bracha needs to be studied really, but it's so beautiful. It talks about Shabbat and the holiness of Shabbat. How Hashem gave us rest. Before Him we will come and worship with reverence and awe, giving thanks to His name daily, continually with due blessings. So really, we repeat the themes of Shabbat, and the Chazan does this. Usually the community sings it together, and then it gets repeated by the Chazan, because just like Chazarat Hashatz, the repetition by the leader has to be, you have to hear it from the leader, so he should repeat it. And then he finishes off with the final bracha, Baruch Hashem HaKadosh Shabbat. So this is a special element only Friday night, a pseudo repetition of the Amidah. That's the bracha Me'ein Sheva. So sometimes, believe it or not, guys, I've heard in a Beit Din, a Dayan, he wants to ask questions to the candidate, and he wants to know if he's faking it or he's really participating in the Jewish community. And I'll ask him, what's bracha Me'ein Sheva? It's a pretty high level of requirements. Maybe he'll ask him, what's a bracha Me'ein Shalosh? Well, that for sure you should know, because you eat crackers and cake, and you have to know what's the after bracha. But Me'ein Sheva, that's been asked. Sometimes the demands are very high level of Jewish knowledge. So don't blame me if you don't know the answer. Here it is. Let's sing it together. Really what they want you to do in the answer to that question is to start singing. After the Chazan says the introduction, Baruch Atah Hashem, we see in the middle of the page, it starts Magen Avot. Page 437, middle of the page, paragraph that starts with the words Magen Avot. Magen Avot bidvaro מחיה מתים במאמרו הקל הקדוש שאין כמוהו המניח לעמו ביום שבת קודשו כי בם רצה להניח להם לפניו נעבוד ביראה ופחד ונודר לשמו בכל יום תמיד מעין הברכות כל ההודעות אדון השלום מקדש השבת ומברך שביעי ומניח בקדושה לעם מדושני עונג זכר למעשה בראשית. It's just like a lilting lullaby, beautiful song, and I want to pay attention to the last two lines. And in holiness gives rest to a people. The Hebrew is midushnei oneg, filled with delight. Oneg Shabbat is a mitzvah to delight in the Shabbat, to enjoy. We said before, there's a blessings on enjoying this world. We are not ascetics. We do not believe in refraining from all the pleasures of this world. We're supposed to enjoy the world, of course, in holiness. How do you make it holy? With a bracha before. If you enjoy the physical delights on Shabbat, Shabbat, the entire day, is considered holy. That's why the standard, ideal day for having physical relations and the pleasure of having physical relations on Shabbat. You might think, well, that's a base physical materialistic desire to have the sexual drive. That's nothing holy. Maybe we have to allow it because that's human nature. The Torah says no. It's part of human nature, and therefore Hashem created it. It's something to appreciate and to enjoy. And not only to appreciate and enjoy it. Our job as the Jewish people are to be holy. How do we become holy? By keeping the laws of the Torah. And one of the special elements of the Torah is that we have a holy day every 7 days. So the day of Shabbat is holy. What more appropriate time to sanctify everything physical, good food, good drink, sexual relations, all the physical pleasures. Sometimes you have candy, sometimes you have sweet smelling spices. All that is appropriate, all that physical stuff on the most holy day. Because we are able, through the guidance of our Torah, to sanctify, to make them a spiritual activity, even though they're very physical. There's nothing wrong with being physical. It's all part of the world that God created for us to serve Him. So we serve Him by enjoying, by being filled with delight. As part of our service of Hashem is to, while we, of course, are filled with delight, we remember the work of creation. We remember Zecher Maaseh Bereshit. Should we do it one more time? They sing that in Chabad, this tune?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? Do you know this tune? No, never heard it. It's beautiful. It's
I-
Ashkenazi communities, they do it.
No, it's supposed to be Yud Shvat.
Ooh, special Chabad day.
Yeah, very special.
Okay.
The Rebbe became the Rebbe.
It was, wasn't it? Oh, it's going to be this Shabbat.
Yeah.
It's going to be this Shabbat, right. It's also the yahrzeit of the previous Rebbe. Let's sing it one more time. You know this tune, Shmuel, right?
It's a little bit faster here, but
We'll do it slow so you can follow along. Read the Hebrew with me, okay? Magen Avot. If you have the place? In the middle of 437. It starts Magen Avot, right here. Magen Avot bidvaro mechaye meitim b'ma'amaro hakel hakadosh she'ein kamohu המניח לעמו ביום שבת קודשו כי בם רצה להניח להם לפניו נעבוד ביראה ופחד ונודה לשמו בכל יום תמיד מעין הברכות כל ההודעות אדון השלום, מקדש השבת, ומברך שביעי, ומניח בקדושה, לעם מדושני עומק. זכר למעשה בראשית. Let's look at the words in English. By His word, He was the shield of our ancestors. What part of the Amidah, is that a repetition of? The first bracha, Magen Avraham, right? The shield. By His promise, He will revive the dead. What part of the Amidah is that? Sort of summarizing the second blessing about reviving the dead. There's none like the Holy God. It's the third blessing, right? Kel HaKadosh, Takadosh, about the holiness of God, who gives rest to His people on His holy day, Sabbath, for He found them worthy of His favor to give them rest. Hashem gives us something every Shabbat. He gives us rest. Hashem wants us to rest. Before Him we will come and worship. Part of what we do in our rest is to worship Him with reverence and awe, giving thanks to His name daily, continually, and with due blessings. This is perhaps referring to the thank you. right? We worship with reverence and awe. That's the Ritzei blessing about the, restore the temple service. And then the thank you is we give thanks. And then of course, Kel Haodot, Adon HaShalom, Lord of Peace. What is that? The bracha of Shalom, the bracha of Sim Shalom. And then we repeat the theme of Shabbat, of course, who sanctifies Shabbat and blesses the seventh day, and holiness gives rest. So we see 3 times, it says in the short paragraph, that Hashem gives us something. He gives us, on Shabbat, He gives us rest. To a people filled with delight in remembrance of the work of creation. So what did God create on the 7th day? It says that God created nothing. He stopped. But then it says that He rested. And He gives us that rest that He created, that He did. So essentially He did perhaps create rest on the 7th day. It's an active thing. It's not just the absence of work. Rest can be filled with delight. It can be filled with meaning. It can be filled with worship. It can be filled with holiness. So this is a very special concept of rest in the Torah. It's not just the absence of work. Right? What do you want to do on Shabbat sometimes?
Sleep.
Lie in bed the whole Shabbat.
They do that.
It's a day of rest. It makes sense. But you're missing something. Rest doesn't only mean cessation of work and sleeping. The spiritual meaning of rest is connecting to your source. It's appreciating the holiness of your Creator. It's worshiping Him, awe and reverence. Everything that the holiness that we've been speaking about, connecting to God. So Shabbat is a day of rest, but it's a day of rest so that we can connect to God and appreciate perhaps what we don't appreciate the rest of the week because we're so busy doing and we don't really reflect upon what we have and the blessings which Hashem gives us. So Shabbat is that very special type of rest. I think it's such a beautiful passage with beautiful words and a nice little tune. If you sing it over and over again, you will, and go to shul, go to an Ashkenazi shul, most 9 times out of 10 you'll hear this. Maybe not Chabad. Maybe not in the Sephardi shul. Even some Sephardi shuls, they do it, because it's such a beautiful tune.
Sing it here.
Here, this is not Sephardi, this is an Ashkenazi shul. But they sing it here. So you'll get how many times have you been here for Shabbat?
Me?
Yeah. 4 times. So you should be hearing this tune every time. So you'll learn it. And sing it to your children, B'ezrat Hashem. In good time. Yeah.
At which part of the prayer do we really accept the Shabbat for men?
It's a good question. If you remember, when we learned the laws of Shabbat, we said that you must, it's a mitzvah, to accept the Shabbat early, before the sun sets. So you really should be accepting the Shabbat. So some communities, you don't actually necessarily have to say anything, but when the community says Kabbalat Shabbat, there's a few times where we mention the Shabbat. Primarily 2. One is L'chadodi, prayer. We say L'chadodi L'krat Kala, Pnei Shabbat Nekabla, we accept the Shabbat. So that's one option. The other one is after that, we say Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbat. So when you say the word Shabbat, before that, all the Tehillim, which we say in Kabbalat Shabbat, it doesn't mention Shabbat explicitly. And so those are the 2 times which makes sense that in those moments you're accepting Shabbat. But in some communities, like in mine, we don't always get there before sunset. Because sometimes they like to sing a lot. You've been to a Karabach Kabbalat Shabbat? There's dancing. Each paragraph takes 10 minutes. And if by the time you get to L'chadodi, it's been a half an hour already, and the sun is already long set. And so in some communities, they add in, before they start Kabbalat Shabbat, they say, we hereby accept upon ourselves the holiness of Shabbat.
Like candles.
So the women, when they light candles, they accept the Shabbat. But the question is about men who don't light candles, and they usually don't accept Shabbat at the same time that their wives light, because they still have to daven mincha of the previous day. And so after mincha, the truth is, my custom is, on Friday afternoon after mincha, right away, I say to myself, Hareini mekabel alai kedushat Shabbat. And then I say Mizmor Shir Yom Shabbat. Tov L'Odod Hashem. I say the Tehillim. I think it's chapter. What chapter is it? What is it? 90 something. Here it's on page. It's 92. 92. Tehillim 92 is Mizmor Shir Yom Shabbat. And that way, I know I've accepted my Shabbat, even if the community's late, even if I'm not in the shul. I try to make it before sunset, at least a minute. Ideally, that's why we have candle lighting early, so you can start 20 minutes early or 40 minutes early if you're in Jerusalem. But the men don't usually accept Shabbat at that time because they're not lighting candles and they still want to daven mincha. So after mincha, as soon as you can accept Shabbat, the better it is. The more Tosefet Shabbat you have, the more you add on to the Shabbat, an extra few minutes. So it's a good question, Steve. Okay?
Did we discuss these brachas before on page 3?
We did when we talked about the laws of Shabbat. We were not here. You were in India, I think. The laws of Shabbat, one of them is that you're not allowed to carry outside the Eruv or a certain area, and there is a rabbinic way to extend that area. It's called Eruv. And so when you make this rabbinic extension, you make a bracha. Not everybody does that. Usually the rabbi does it for everybody, but there's different types. There's different types of Eruv. We can't talk about it now, but remind me next week. I'm happy to give a brief review. I'm sure, I don't think Amram was here, and when we talked about Eruv.
Yeah, I know the difference between Eruv de Rabanat and Eruv de Oraita.
Good, that's part. It's a good part. There's more to learn. There's 3 different types of Eruv. Not the right of the Rabbanan. Eruv Tchumin, Eruv Chatzerot, Shituf Mevoot. And then what we call the Eruv is not even really called the Eruv. It's called the Tzurat HaPetach. It's called the same word. Tzurat HaPetach. Anyways, there's more to say about Eruv, but not now. We have to stop and say Shabbat Shalom. And see you next week. B'ezrat Hashem. Have a great Shabbat. What a list. What a...
I like the addition of the salt.